So it's been a while since I've done an episode of The Forge that featured some custom card ideas, and a lot of that just has to do with all of the hype and excitement around the new expansion coming, the Fall of the Dark Brotherhood, but just because new cards are coming out doesn't mean that I'm still not thinking about fun or new card ideas, and so you can fully expect these things to keep on rolling. The game has grown a lot since the official launch and since the iPad version launch. I've picked up a lot of new subscribers, so if you're not familiar, The Forge is a series I do where I essentially either take existing cards and imagine them as reworks or balance changes, or I create custom cards based on ideas that I think would fit well into the game. Sometimes they're meant to showcase a mechanic that I think would fit in the game, sometimes they are to fit a theme, and so on and so forth. So that being said, I want to preface this. I usually put this at the beginning of every video, but again, because we might have some new people watching, none of the values here are necessarily what I would consider like hard finalized values. I put a lot of the thought into the cards, and I'm very meticulous with the cards I make. I try to keep things attribute specific in terms of their style or abilities. I try to keep the rarities in check with where I'd expect them. I make sure all the icons on the art files are correct, and so on and so forth. So all of that being said, these are what I would consider to be a rough draft, right? So like if I were an actual designer, these are what I would throw out as an idea, and then there would be like a round of testing and a round of balance changes that you would do in a vacuum, and then you would go from there. So again, I think a little bit more important to focus on like the concept or idea than hard values, but I'm always open to whatever feedback you people have. You people, sorry, you guys. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it. This episode's going to have a theme that we're following, and that is a Chaurus theme. So if you're not familiar, in the game we already have one Chaurus. It is the Chaurus Reaper. And if you're new to the game but maybe never played Skyrim, you may or may not know that there were other Chaurus creatures in the game. There were typically, at least in Skyrim for example, there were like 3 levels. There was your basic Chaurus, a Chaurus Reaper, and then later a Chaurus Hunter. And we're gonna do our best to kind of cover the gaps. So without further ado, I present to you Wild Chaurus. Now, Wild Chaurus is meant to be like that down stage from a Chaurus Reaper, just a regular Chaurus, but I thought just making a creature named Chaurus sounded boring. So we're going to go with a Wild Chaurus. I say wild because, at least in Skyrim, Chaurus were like herd animals that were like tamed by the Falmer, and so you would encounter like Falmer and Chaurus in dungeons. And so this is the idea of a Chaurus that is not domesticated, it is wild. He is a 3/3 for 3. He says that whenever another creature enters this lane, give it -1/-1. Now, this includes your own creatures. That's kind of why I decided to call it a wild Chaurus, right? It's untamed. It doesn't care who comes near it. It's just angry. The -1/-1 counter is to fit in theme with the Chaurus Reaper, and it's also supposed to, for the most part, represent the Chaurus Poison. So again, if you're not familiar with Chauruses, they like spit poison. So he just kind of is angry, he spits it everywhere. I like this card because it's kind of a fun like control card in a way, right? You can play it into an empty lane and kind of control its presence. It does still, it's small enough that it dies to Crushing Blow. It doesn't affect creatures that are already in the lane, so it can be susceptible to trades. I like that it's whenever a creature enters the lane, so that it's not just, creatures played from hand, but it's also if something were to like move over to try to attack it, like anytime it comes near, if something comes near it, it just spits poison at it, right? So 3/3 for 3 aren't like amazing stats. I could see an argument to make this be a 3/2. But I feel like Firebolt is already strong enough as it is, and with so many other creatures having their health nerfed to 2 or less, that I think it's important to have, some stuff not die to Firebolt in the early game. So we're going with a 3/3. It's a powerful control effect. I'm making him a rare because at a common I think he shows up way too often, especially in Arena. I think a rare is probably like the appropriate feel for a card of this power level. Epic feels like too strong. Like I don't think this is quite strong enough to be of epic value, and so on and so forth. So for now, we're going with a rare. That's the sort of thing that, again, I think would be tested or tweaked, maybe up to epic if he proves to be like oppressive in arena, because he does have a pretty powerful effect for arena where crushing blow isn't as apparent or, you know, rampant. But anyway, that's the idea, that's the thought. So if we have a wild Chaurus, and the game already has Taurus Reaper, we need the big brother, right? So next up is Chaurus Hunter. Chaurus Hunter is like the next evolution. These are ones that have wings, and they're more powerful, at least in the game, than Taurus Reaper, so we're trying to represent this in a number of ways. It's still an agility card. This one is 9 for a 7/6. We are making him a non-unique legend because of his big size and his power level. And he says at the start of your turn, you move Taurus Hunter to the other lane. Then, when Taurus Hunter enters a lane, enemy creatures in that lane get -1/-1. So he's like a Taurus Reaper that just keeps going off, and he goes off every time he enters a lane. So this would be from hand, from any other summon effects that would bring him into play, but then also when he moves. Now, the reason that we're making him move from lane to lane is to represent his flight, right? So he's a step up from the Reaper. He has wings. He can fly around. He's an agility card like the Reaper because of the poison effect, but then also agility is the attribute where lane movement exists, right? And so we're going to represent his flight in that lane movement mechanic to stay within the theme of the attribute. 7/6, we just made his stats bigger than a Reaper because he's supposed to be more powerful. The effect is the same as the Reaper, but kind of on steroids because, again, we're trying to represent it being more powerful. And then as a result, we've ramped the cost up. Now, I think that there could be an argument that he could even maybe cost more, or maybe have him cost more but the stats go up more. This is kind of a hard one to figure out because, like, I feel Taurus Reaper already costs 7 for what he does, and so a jump up to 9 doesn't feel like that much more of an investment. But then similarly, when you compare this card to, say, other 9 drops, Supreme Atromancer, this one could feel lackluster. So on the one hand, he feels like almost too much of a step up for just a 2-cost increase from Reaper, but almost not impactful enough when compared to the other 9 drops. So for now, we're gonna say, hey, he's 9, 7/6 body with a cool effect. I'm still not even sure that this thing would see play, even as strong as it is, but we're making him a non-unique legend. He's not unique because he's not named. Well, we want him to be a legend because, quite frankly, this is the kind of card that could dominate an arena, and I don't want him to show up too often. I could even maybe buy an argument that it could be an epic, but for the most part, I felt like a non-unique legend is where this kind of needed to be. So, again, for arena balance purposes. So, this is the Chaurus Hunter. So, with all these things spitting poison everywhere, giving us -1/-1 counters, I wanted to, for the last card in the theme, instead of it being a Chaurus, showcase something for potential counterplay, which is something that just doesn't exist right now in the game. So I present Shrine of Arche. If you played Skyrim, you're familiar with that. There were a number of shrines, and pretty much all of them did the same thing. You could go to them and they would remove all your negative effects. So that's what this shrine does. This is a 3-cost endurance support, and it has 3 uses, and it says activate, remove all negative effects from a friendly creature, and then you give it +0/+1. So this one gives +0/+1 because specifically the Shrine of Arche is the one that when you used it would also buff your health in Skyrim, so we're trying to fit that theme. I made it an endurance card because of the health buff and the healing effect. Endurance is where other healing creatures exist. It's where Healing Hands exists. It's where the elixir that buffs toughness, which is what this card would ultimately be compared against, exists. So it's, I think, all fitting with the, again, theme of the attribute. And I feel like this one does look like a direct upgrade to the elixir. It only costs 1 more, but this one can remove -1/-1 counters. So, and in that instance, yeah, it's a direct upgrade. There is some power creep there, but I feel like if this thing costed 4, it's probably going to cost so much that it never sees play. So let's be honest, the other elixir doesn't see play either. I think 3 is probably acceptable. And it's kind of a cool niche card, right? Because it's the sort of thing that feels amazing if you have the chance to play it and actually pull off a -1/-1 counter. But against non-agility decks where you're not running into those, right? Then it kind of is just meh. That being said, now I want to point out the other part of this that makes it, in my opinion, very strong in terms of power level is this does say remove all negative effects. So in my mind, this would remove Shackle too. Now, perhaps that would be enough to make it cost 4 because it could do that and Shackle. I don't know, but that is something that I had considered in the design. But again, like if it's not, if you know, if you're not getting Shackled and you're not getting --, then the card kind of feels almost dead. So I don't know. Would it see play at 3? Probably, maybe. It's kind of hard to, it's hard. So anyway, that's one where I would love to hear some feedback on. Do you think it's undercosted? Do you think it's overcosted? Do you think the effect would be too strong? I feel like having the shrines exist as cards would be cool. I think that having something that it removes -1/-1 counters is key because there is no level of counterplay to those at the moment. Perhaps removing the Shackle is too much, but I don't know, right? Like I feel like that this could be the kind of card that would be a cool tech card. So that's where we're at. So that's it for the Chaurus theme. I'd love to hear what you guys think about adding some more Chauruses, adding some more counterplay to the --, effects. Normally this is where I would say, like, you know, the end of the video is coming, I'll see you next time, but not related to the theme of this video. You're gonna get like a bonus card this time around, mostly because I don't want to wait for the next video to fit it in, because I'm really excited about it. So a Reddit user, Mistaya80, thank you Mistaya, posted what seemed like a kind of nonsensical, like weird thread on Reddit a while back, and it was basically like a story about the chickens that were in Skyrim, where if you accidentally killed a chicken, like town guards and village people would just like hunt you down and try to kill you like you were a murderer. And at the time, his post, like, I don't know how well it was received because it didn't look like it had a direction, but it really inspired me. And I was like, I want a card that represents the chicken for a lot of reasons. One, I thought that was a very interesting aspect to Skyrim. It was certainly memorable. When he posted it, I was like, oh yeah, I totally do remember that. Also because in the leaked art for the game, so if you're not familiar, somebody had posted this big dump of all the art that was in the game files, including art that had not yet been released. If you look at my past videos of the Forge, you can see where I'm using some of the unused game art that is actually now going to be cards in the Dark Brotherhood, but we had access to it before from the dump. And as part of that dump, there was this picture of a chicken in the rain, and so I'm going to use that art for this card. This card is the Town Chicken. It is a 1-cost 0/1, and it has a last gasp of summon 2 Colovian troopers. They're the 2/2 guards in each lane, right? So this is a spell sword card specifically for a number of reasons. One, I like the idea of it being spell sword because it's going to fit the same Colovian trooper theme. Midnight Sweep is endurance. General Tullius is already spell sword. So summoning spell swords just fits right in there. Or excuse me, summoning Colovian troopers fits right in spell sword. Number 2, and this is the other big part from a design standpoint, is that spell sword as a class doesn't have a lot of ways to self-activate this card, right? If this card were single attribute, you could maybe pair it with agility to play it turn 1 and then curse it to get 2 guards on turn 1. That'd be really powerful. You could pair it with intelligence to firebolt yourself, so on and so forth, right? But spell sword doesn't really, as of right now, as of recording this video, have good ways to self-activate in such a manner, so you have to be creative. You know, you've got to buff it, whether that's 5th Legion Trainer, Divine Fervor, or for some reason I love the mental image of giving this thing Dawnbreaker and having a chicken wielding a legendary sword. But whatever the case may be, you gotta buff it and then suicide it, or you have to fill a lane and sacrifice it, but then you only get 1 trooper instead of 2. But just, I really liked the flavor of this card. It represented something that I felt was interesting from Skyrim as an interaction when you played that game. I got to use the art that I was dying to use, and like I said, I was inspired by Mistaya80 from Reddit, so thank you, Mistaya, and I just wanted to share the card. So now we're at that part where I end the video. Let me know what you think of the chicken. Let me know what you think of the Chaurus cards. Shrine of Arche, I'm specifically interested in your feedback on in terms of cost. If you'd like to see cards like that in the game to provide some counterplay both to Shackle and to the ---- counters. And yeah, as always, I love you guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you next time.